I mean... Oh! Sorry, I'm being OCD. I was in my effects and I didn't like that. Go on. Sorry, we were talking about, in the last part about Bank 4 and stuff. By the way, we don't do our shows on a Saturday normally. But we thought, we did a side 1, we might as well do a side 2 of this. But we're just going to call it Test. I'm going to throw a picture in. But yeah. So, we were talking about the crash. And Megatron told me some very exciting things. But I want to tell you guys, because Megatron didn't state this, but he was saying about the cellar before it got its press release. And the cellar was kind of a bit danky and stuff. Very dirty and dusty and dark. It wasn't like it is now. And it had a carpeted floor, but the pictures that you see on our page, if you go a few years back, kind of stripped back to where it was like end of the Radio ZOZ era. Because that was supposed to be a bar and everything. I think people kind of remember when the bar was in, because we used to do sort of Cellar Fest when it was the bar. Yeah, and we had a bar license as well, which is kind of going back a fair few years ago, but the bar wasn't doing well, and the pumps clogged up and everything. But those pumps sold well. We thought that a Temper Radio fan would buy them, but it never happened. Yeah, my dad wasn't very happy that we were trying to sell the pumps to Temper Radio fans. We even tried to do a competition. Did we? I can't remember if we did or not. Console mic switch off. On. I'm checking our mics on. We're talking and then there's nothing. It's silence. Oh dear. It's like a cassette tape when you use Spreaker. If you just sort of like, I mean, you can import stuff, but we won't. The Open Music, we might actually import the files when we start doing that. You know. Oh yes, the shows and everything sort of in one place. Yeah. So Bank 4 was the station that Grandad Matt set up alongside the hospital radio. It crashed though before Grandad Matt Cooney died. In December 1994. It was a depressing year. Because my Grandad Matt was ill year prior. So leading up to his death, he still tried to do the Bank 4 stuff. Even from his deathbed, I didn't know this, he didn't sell the station. He didn't want the station to be sold. And they even had, he didn't want anybody else to take the shows sort of on the road. Now, Gary Morph bought a bit of the station later on. Yeah. But we want to talk about the real crash that happened in 1995 to sort of 97. There was two crashes, but the biggest crash happened in 97. The first crash happened in 94. The first crash happened in 94, but actually started in 89. No, it didn't. It started in 93, but actually it didn't crash properly till 94. Because there was awaiting studios and there was like television bought it, Sky bought half the stuff, Screen 2 bought bits of it. And what happened was cassette players were coming in. It's a bit like mobile phones, a bit like the smartphone age, but if you sort of rewind back a bit, it was like the cassette player age. So the reel-to-reel recorders stopped working. They got sold instantly. And an amplifier was stolen. Oh, was this when they sort of had like the big amps and everything? Yeah. And they had sort of Studio 1, Studio 4, and Studio 3. There was no Studio 2 because they sort of wanted to make it look like there was lesser studios. In the back, the TV studios were made in later years. But what Matt Cooney wanted to do was he wanted to build the studios and the office area, wanted to all be in one area. But he wanted to dodge the tax by putting sort of like Studio 2 in later on. So, Adronis, who were a band later on, they then did a deal with MTV. You've heard in interviews with Sonic Idol where they were working for MTV and they bought Bank 4 for a little bit. And they had 4 studios. And there's like a 1, 2, 3. But then they moved Studio 4 later on. Didn't they move, like before they opened a TV studio, weren't they going to have a press office somewhere along the line? Well, what it was, there was some musicians that bought, there was a newspaper called Celebrate. It was actually a magazine, and it was released at the beginning of the week. They had all kinds of shows and stuff. But, as Adroni's producer will tell you, if we ever get him on the show, there was a copyright infringement thing with the magazine, which they wrote that. It's strange because they wrote, it took them 3 weeks to do a monthly issue. It was really funny how they did that. And they would put pages inside the typewriter. They would write for hours. They didn't have as many typists. Then suddenly they bought all the typists. They managed buying typists. And there was brand new typewriters. And there was a brand new department that was bought. Suddenly, the taxman came into Studio 4 and there was a meeting called elsewhere. Because they kept having to move the meeting round. And Adronis took the meeting when the studio had been renewed, and they basically just went back to Studio 4 and said, well, we'll do these sessions. And all the tapes were lost. I can tell you now, the tapes weren't lost. Is this for copyright reasons? Or? Yeah, but then Celebrate, which was a magazine done by Youth Talent or whatever they were called. They then decided to do talent shows and stuff, and Adronis ran a television show run by the same people. And then to fund this, they kept the magazine. But then they changed the name to Bank Zero magazine, which is why Bank Zero was the magazine and all that kind of stuff. They tied in with the radio station later on. So the magazine moved. And then they had all these workshops which were tied into Bank 4. Bank 4 spent money on the magazine only because they wanted to have a magazine. But with Celebrate, there was all kinds of conflict and stuff. We never took part in Celebrate. We were in Celebrate a few times. For the Christmas stuff and the summer stuff. And then in 1996, Celebrate left. They were here a few times, but in 96, they moved. They moved here in 96. They moved in 96. So that's what happened. They moved here in 96, and then in 97. The summer of 97 was a bleak year because my real dad was also managing, and that was a bit of a bleak year. But he got in touch with the people that ran Celebrate and managed to manage them from where he was. I wasn't supposed to tell you that, but anyway. So then it was a bit dark. Celebrate was a bit dark because he wanted to pay the people that ran Celebrate and Bank 4 at the same time. And the end of that year, we were using Talkboy cassette recorders. And that's like using a smartphone and everything else all in one box. And we were playing around with cassette recorders, and then in the end we decided that's what we're going to do. Come back to Bank 4. We didn't get a brand new studio, by the way, till 1998. So 98 was the year we got a studio, and played around again, doing ideas, and we would record fresh ideas. And then 1999 was the year when we decided, well, we'll buy this radio station and we'll do something with it. And Radio ZOZ was born in 2000. It was January, February 2000. We were owned by Screen 2 for a few months, and then the BBC then licensed. We bought a license off them for 3 whole years to pay for the crash. We couldn't be a independent or commercial radio station till we had basically resolved the money. They were dark times, but we haven't finished 1997. I want to go back a little bit. Where are we now? Pause button. Yeah, I want to go back a bit to 97. Because in that year of 97, there was going to be a lot of stuff happening. And in 97, I think of September, November. In November of that year, they basically said there was going to be no money for 2 years. And they would not upgrade a tape recorder for 2 years. And so you had to have a cassette recorder or whatever. But, you know, it was a big business. So what they did was they gave us the Talkboy, which we used for 2 years. And the Talkboy was, they gave us that and they showed us, right, well, we can walk around with a Talkboy and record. And the microphone was bloody well amazing on the thing. It was, had a little dynamic microphone on the end. And they were fantastic. But that's what we used. And they paid for that in the end of 98. Oh, that was right. They found money. In 1999, they announced that there was money. So because I was ill 1999, so I didn't go to any, went back. That was it, March 99. They announced, well, basically people drank all the way through 99. It was a strange year. And the end of the 90s was, basically, all through the 90s, it was, what can we do with cassettes? Well, if we get a new microphone, maybe we can do this, and maybe we have more money. In fact, you've got no money till, well, when the money ran out, everybody just drank till the money did run out, and everybody was screwed. I think that's how it worked. I'm not